UAM and AAM is a very, very exciting time with all this new tech taken to the sky, but one area that we need to really look at is security, and to tell us more I have a Director of CGI, Steve Vance, with me. Now Steve, first of all, tell us a bit about the company CGI.
Certainly. So CGI is an IT services organisation with 40 countries worldwide, about 80,000 employees, and one of the things that we do is a lot of safety and cyber secure systems, including systems such as Galileo and EGNOS, which are used to deliver navigation for the urban air mobility sector, and also SATCOM systems, which also deliver communication.
Right, so we've talked about UAM and AAM on the intro just there, all these craft flying around the sky, it's all very exciting, but there is a big security risk here, isn't there, with the spektrum? Tell us more about the areas you've identified.
Yeah, so spektrum is the invisible utility that we rely on for everything from our mobile phones, but also including the urban air mobility sector, to command and control drones, and to also receive high streaming video for beyond visual line of sight operations. And this air gap is a very easy way to cyber attack these kind of platforms using things such as jammers. And this has happened in a number of different countries. It's happened in the UK, up in Northumbria, but it's also happened in China, where there's been drone swarms that have fallen out of the sky on crowds below as a result of somebody interfering with the spektrum and making the drones believe that they're somewhere they're not, which initiates internal mechanisms to cause them to descend.
So this has got a danger with certain things potentially falling out of the sky, but there's also maybe a security risk if somebody knows something of high value is on a drone being taken from point A to point B, they could land that drone themselves, right?
Exactly, yes, and that's the mechanism which a lot of drone defence technology uses today to effectively make the drone, jammed or spoofed to believe that it's somewhere it's not, which causes the drone to fly down. And absolutely, so if you've got valuable packages in there, this could be a mode of attack to effectively get the content. Yes.
So clearly it's a big area that needs a lot of attention. Luckily there are companies like you that are focusing on this. What have you come up with solution-wise? I know you can't go into huge detail with it, but what have you found?
Yeah, so there's a few ways that you can approach this. The first is you can build resilience within your platforms. So you can use multiple forms of navigation and multiple forms of communication, very similar to what we use in aircraft, to build that resilience in. But of course, that's expensive. And so the right level of resilience for the right level of cost is very important to make sure that we don't completely price out the urban air mobility sector at those lower ends, with the business case of what they're trying to deliver. But at the same time, on the higher end, where we're talking about eVTOLs transporting people, we've got the right resilience in place so that that can be done. The other thing that we can do is we can give situational awareness. So we can look on the ground, we can understand the spektrum and where that jamming might be occurring so that we can police it in a more effective way to keep the skies clear for these platforms or inform those platforms if suddenly a spektrum interference event is happening that they need to be informed of. And in fact, IATA have made this recommendation for all ANSPs across the whole of their jurisdiction to effectively sense spectrum interference and inform their air users, because it now is affecting 5% of aviation travel around the world, actually in Europe.
That's incredible, isn't it? It's quite a scary, quite a high percentage, isn't it? You'd think maybe 1.5% maximum, but...
There is a lot, obviously, that's going in areas such as the southern Mediterranean, where there's a lot of activity on at the moment. But there is also, as planes come into lower altitudes, as they start to come in to those airports where the spectrum environment in a city is far more contested and people are using these kind of devices, the aircraft systems can also be impacted there. And if we transfer that use case to the urban air mobility, which is urban, we really need to address this and build additional resilience or situational awareness into our architectures for future air mobility.
Now, when we talk about UAM, UAS, regulations are a big thing. It always is in aviation, as it should be as well. So how can regulation help to govern this as well and help assist you?
Yeah, so certainly the first big thing is these jammers. In the UK, they are legal to buy, but illegal to use, which makes absolutely no sense in my mind whatsoever. Why would you buy something if you're not going to use it? So we have to tighten that regulation in the UK to stop these illegal devices to use being able to be purchased. Secondly, we should build the right regulations in our platforms so that the resilience and the situational awareness for the routes are representative of the safety risks that those platforms need.
Right, it's quite an exciting time ahead, but also quite an alarming one as well if we get it wrong. So the pressure's on you, but thankfully it sounds like you've got your head screwed on. Steve, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks so much for the time.